plasma does is uses both short pulse lasers and ultra short pulse lasers to form these plasmas at range. We're looking to get out to 1.5 kilometers here in the next couple of years, and then out to 6 kilometers or more by FY25. But basically, the effects, the non-lethal effects that we're going after is you form this plasma at range. One thing that it does is it's basically stripping electrons, but it's creating shock waves. And these shock waves manifest themselves into very loud acoustic blasts, and you can see pretty bright lights. So basically a flashbang effect without having to deliver a flashbang munition out to those ranges. So these things will not only just have 1 or 2 bangs from a flashbang effect, essentially sustain those plasmas so that you're getting 10 to 15 detonations per second. And with low power, we've held sustain that plasma for more than 3 hours. So think of the kind of the flash bang from hell here of 10 to 15 detonations per second, say right in front of your nose or very close to you, at 160 dB is what we've managed to achieve so far. So it's it's beyond irritating. You kind of get the message that maybe you're in the place where we don't want you to be. Then if that doesn't work in an escalation of force kind of scenario, the flashbangs effect don't work, we can train the plasma onto the person, and it's once it hits access to the skin, it is very, very painful. So it's a good deterrent and repel capability as well. And then finally, the third kind of Buck Rogers piece to this is just as we've been able to control that plasma in air to produce that flashbang effect, we can modulate that. We've been able to modulate that plasma or that sound, and we've actually been able to replicate human voice. So now we can deliver out to 6 kilometers or more intelligent voice commands. And it's for a non-lethal weapon, an intermediate force capability, being able to create voice commands at ranges and be able to deliver them in the language of that threat is a pretty effective device. If you are able to say stop or we will shoot, most people stop. So it is a kind of a very good, effective, long-range IFC capability.
This is a very short, and the rep rates are relatively small. The average power is not that high unless you have a long dwell time. On the other hand, as you may have heard, there's the U.S. Air Force Research Lab developed a system called the Area Denial System that the Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate sponsored and carried forth. And that's a system that uses millimeter waves, roughly at 95 gigahertz. And they discovered that at 95 gigahertz, the energy can actually penetrate the skin and stimulate the nerves underneath the skin to give the simulation of a burn, of actually heating. As a result, that provides a way to control humans in a non-lethal way, because seems to be a significant difference between the threshold required to cause the intense pain and that for human damage. So this allows people, the warfighter and peacekeepers, to now have a weapon system that can actually radiate personnel to keep them back or to keep them from a certain area, such as protecting a high-value asset. And that pain will go away if they back off or if the energy is turned off. That's very important because that's a new application that appears to be of great interest not only to the United States, but to our allies and unfortunately to our adversaries also. The last thing I'll say about that is that everybody says, oh, well, we can just easily protect against high-power microwave weapons by wrapping it in tin foil or something of that nature, creating a Faraday shield. The issue there is that in theory that is very easy to do. I mean, it's very easy to do theoretically, but it may be very difficult in practice because it turns out where you put the shielding can redistribute the electromagnetic fields inside the target. And if you're not careful, you can actually increase the amount of energy at a particular place as opposed to trying to decrease it. The next slide.
The effects, the non-lethal effects that we're going after is you form this plasma at range. One thing that it does is it's basically stripping electrons, but it's creating shock waves. And these shock waves manifest themselves into very loud acoustic blasts, and you can see pretty bright lights. So basically a flashbang effect without having to deliver a flashbang munition out to those ranges. So these things will not only just have one or two bangs from a flashbang effect, but you can essentially sustain those plasmas so that you're getting 10 to 15 detonations per second. And with low power, we've held to sustain that plasma for more than 3 hours. So think of the kind of the flash bang from hell here of 10 to 15 detonations per second, say right in front of your nose or very close to you at 160 dB is what we've managed to achieve so far. So it's it's beyond irritating. You kind of get the message that maybe you're in a place where we don't want you to be.
Because of the possibilities available in practice are so large, the easiest ones become vastly more likely as destinations. So when there's paid for options in front of you, it effectively becomes micromanagement behavior. Now this is a subtle thing, because there's two different perspectives here. And once again, this has to do with understanding statistics. On one level, you can say, hey, nobody forced you to follow this link or that. Nobody forced you to do this or that. You're free. It's your responsibility. And that is true as far as it goes. However, broadly, statistically, a finite amount of attention, a finite amount of energy, a finite amount of split that you deal with at many levels. So statistically, you do micromanage a population. And so it fundamentally corrupts the information system because it means, like if you're saying, well, our search engine is pure of heart, but then on the side are paid for links. Well, the thing is they're right there. It corrupts the whole process. So what it does is it allows third parties to pay for micromanaging what you do. Now, once again, you can say, oh, it's just links on the side of a page, or who cares. Can you try to close the door? Oh, I appreciate it so much. But then again, as technology becomes more and more intimate, as you start to bring the world of wearables and implants and all that stuff, will, just because of human fragility, we're all going to choose to use that so it really happens. As that data starts getting gathered, and you start getting paid options for running, it really starts to erode personal privacy and then personal identity and free will. And this is a concept that sometimes we have trouble getting across because we're so used to the metaphor of a person being just like a little big computer on the internet. But let me it's at least possible that what it means to be a human being is something we don't quite understand. We don't really know how the brain inputs information. We don't know how it works. We can't reproduce it. We don't really know the systems of experience from. They say it's an illusion of a complex computer. Doesn't really say anything because otherwise I was going out. experience is the one thing that is reduced to this illusion. Even an illusion of experience is still an experience, you know? You see that? Anyway, it gets to be a tricky area. I thought that there might be something special about personhood. The thing about personhood is that in order to exercise it, there needs to be a little bit of a zone around it where you can get to know yourself, get to experiment with yourself in between engagements with the larger world. And if the devices touch so closely to you, that feedback from them is being entered right into your immediate personal experiences that guide you, that manipulate you, are losing your will, and reduces some freedom on a really fundamental level. If we were absolutely confident in the perfect omniscience, wisdom, and benevolence of remote computers that do that, well, fine, I guess. But good luck with that. You know, that's not the way it is. For one thing, they can't represent reality anyway, which is stupid, totally aside from their intent. And we're making sense of it. I've just made a leap into philosophy, so it's a little harder to follow, I understand. Okay, good. So